Something unprecedented is happening at the US-Mexico border, on the water, not the land. For decades, the focus has been on fences, checkpoints, and patrols along the desert and riverbanks. But now, attention is shifting to the vast, unpredictable waters that separate the two countries. For the first time in history, the US Navy has deployed guided missile destroyers to actively patrol the maritime boundary, a move that signals a new era in border security. These are not ordinary patrol boats, but some of the world's most advanced and heavily armed warships, now a regular sight off the coasts of California and Texas, their imposing silhouettes visible from the shore. This marks a dramatic shift. Military assets are now taking on roles long handled by civilian agencies like the Coast Guard and Customs and Border Protection, blurring the lines between defense and law enforcement. Officials argue these destroyers are needed to combat increasingly sophisticated drug trafficking and human smuggling operations at sea, providing critical support to the Coast Guard and CBP in joint missions. But using warships built for high-stakes naval combat for border patrol is highly unusual, raising questions about the militarization of border enforcement. Sailors trained for warfare now find themselves blending law enforcement with humanitarian aid, tracking smugglers, but also rescuing migrants in distress, often risking their own safety in unpredictable conditions. The waters are crowded, not with enemy fleets, but with fishing boats, pleasure yachts, and desperate migrants, making every patrol a delicate balancing act between vigilance and compassion. This is a complex, unprecedented mission for the Navy, requiring new tactics, coordination, and constant adaptation to evolving threats and humanitarian needs. We'll explore why this is happening now, which ships and crews are involved, and how this fits into a much larger military mobilization at the border, reshaping the region's security landscape. Is this an effective use of military resources, or does it risk escalating tensions and diverting focus from other critical missions? What does it mean for the future of border security, and could this set a precedent for military involvement in other domestic challenges? And how will it affect the relationship between the military and civilian law enforcement as their missions and responsibilities increasingly overlap? These are the questions we'll investigate as we dive deeper into this extraordinary chapter in the story of America's border. The Navy's border deployment began in March 2025, marking a historic moment in U.S. border security policy. For the first time in decades, the nation's maritime forces were mobilized to directly support domestic border operations, signaling a dramatic escalation in the federal response to ongoing challenges. This unprecedented move followed a series of executive orders from President Trump, who emphasized the urgent need for stronger action at the nation's borders. The administration argued that surging drug smuggling, human trafficking, and unauthorized maritime crossings had reached crisis levels, demanding a robust and immediate response from all branches of government. Homeland Security and the Coast Guard, already stretched thin by years of high operational tempo, needed reinforcements. The Navy was called in as a powerful deterrent, bringing new capabilities and resources to the fight. U.S. Northern Command responded by developing a comprehensive multi-domain strategy, integrating sea, air, and land assets for a truly layered defense. This approach aimed to close gaps and create a seamless security net along the border. Navy destroyers equipped with advanced surveillance systems and unmatched endurance filled critical gaps in maritime coverage, allowing for round-the-clock monitoring and rapid response to threats. The mission was framed as protecting U.S. sovereignty and national interests, not just a law enforcement operation. It was about defending the homeland on every front. This move came amid intense political focus and public debate over border security, signaling a willingness to use all elements of national power, military, diplomatic, and economic, to address the issue. The deployment was presented as a vital national security measure, justifying the use of warships and military assets in a domestic support role rarely seen in modern times. Thousands of National Guard and active duty troops were already stationed along the border. The addition of naval assets expanded the security perimeter to the sea, creating a unified front across multiple domains. The directive was clear: use the Navy's formidable power and expertise to secure America's maritime frontiers, ensuring no avenue for illegal activity goes unchecked. This is not just a temporary show of force, it represents a fundamental shift in border strategy, with long-term implications for how the U.S. approaches homeland defense. The stakes and the scale are bigger than ever before. The mission is underway, and the eyes of the nation and the world are watching what happens next. The ships on Border Patrol are Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers, over 500 feet long and among the most advanced warships in the world. These vessels are a formidable presence, designed for both offense and defense, and built to operate in the world's most challenging maritime environments. Each destroyer bristles with cutting-edge radar, sensors, and a powerful arsenal of weapons, from Tomahawk cruise missiles to rapid-fire guns. Their technology allows them to detect threats from miles away and respond in seconds. Normally these ships protect carrier groups and defend against enemy missiles or aircraft, but now they're using their sophisticated systems to track smuggling boats and migrant vessels, adapting to a very different kind of mission. The USS Gravely was the first to arrive in the Gulf of Mexico, setting the standard for this new operation and showing how quickly the Navy can respond to emerging threats. The USS Spruance and USS Stockdale have patrolled the Pacific, covering vast stretches of coastline and open water, ready to intercept suspicious vessels at a moment's notice. The USS Sampson is now on station, continuing the mission and maintaining a constant watch over the maritime border. Even a literal combat ship, the USS Charleston, joined the effort briefly, demonstrating that the Navy is experimenting with different platforms and strategies to find the best fit for this evolving mission. Each destroyer carries a Coast Guard law enforcement detachment, or LADET, a specialized team with the legal authority to board vessels, make arrests, and seize contraband, bridging the gap between military power and law enforcement. Navy crews operate the ship and its advanced sensors, maintaining constant vigilance and ensuring the destroyer is always ready for action. Meanwhile, Coast Guard teams handle the law enforcement side, boarding suspect vessels, questioning crews, and carrying out searches at sea. This partnership bridges the legal gap, since military personnel can't arrest U.S. citizens, but Coast Guard teams can, making the mission both effective and lawful. The destroyer's Aegis radar can track hundreds of targets at once, covering vast stretches of ocean. Helicopters launched from the ships extend their surveillance range even further, searching for threats beyond the horizon. With the ability to refuel and resupply at sea, these ships can remain on station for weeks at a time, providing a persistent and powerful presence. These steel sentinels now guard America's maritime frontier, bringing unmatched capability, flexibility, and endurance to a new kind of border mission. The Navy's presence is changing the game at sea, deterring smugglers and traffickers, and reassuring coastal communities. The mission is as high-tech as it is high-stakes, blending military might, law enforcement expertise, and cutting-edge technology to protect America's shores. The Navy's border mission has three parts: deter, interdict, and rescue. First, deterrence. The sight of a warship is meant to make smugglers think twice. The message: the risk of getting caught is higher than ever. Second, interdiction. Using radar and sensors, destroyers spot suspicious boats, launch helicopters, and deploy Coast Guard teams to intercept. The goal: stop drugs and unauthorized migrants before they reach U.S. shores. Third, rescue. These ships are ready for search and rescue, saving lives from unseaworthy boats. The USS Spruance, for example, rescued 18 people from a disabled vessel 50 miles offshore. The crews must constantly shift between law enforcement and humanitarian roles. Every contact could be a threat or a desperate plea for help. The mission is a delicate balance, enforcing the law while upholding the Navy's tradition of aiding those in peril at sea. It's a new kind of challenge for America's warships. The stakes are human lives and national security. These destroyers aren't coming from idle duty, they're fresh from combat zones. The USS Gravely, before patrolling the Gulf, spent 9 months in the Red Sea, intercepting missiles and drones from Houthi militants. The crew went from facing missile attacks to searching for smugglers and migrants. The USS Stockdale had a similar journey, moving from Middle East combat to California's coast. These sailors are battle-tested, now adapting to a mission worlds apart from warfare. Combat rules focus on defeating enemies. Border Patrol demands de-escalation and protecting rights. The transition is a major mental and operational shift. Their professionalism is unquestioned, but the assignment is unprecedented. The Navy's premier warships are now on a mission no one expected. It's a dramatic change for both the ships and their crews. The Navy's deployment is just one part of a sweeping military buildup at the border. Over 10,000 military personnel now support customs and border protection, active duty, National Guard, and Marines. Troops operate drones, monitor cameras, repair infrastructure, and handle logistics, freeing up Border Patrol agents. In May 2025, the Pentagon sent over 1,100 more troops, including infantry with Stryker combat vehicles, to patrol remote areas. This signals a hardening security posture, military-grade equipment for a law enforcement mission. Plans are underway to add up to 20,000 more National Guard members, potentially bringing the total to over 30,000. This would be one of the largest domestic military deployments in recent U.S. history. The border is being transformed on land and at sea. Top officials say deploying Navy warships is a necessary step for national security. General Gregory Gillot, head of U.S. Northern Command, says the mission protects U.S. territorial integrity and sovereignty. The language is deliberate, framing the operation as national defense, not just law enforcement. Admiral Daryl Caudle, commander of Fleet Forces, explains that East Coast ships patrol the Gulf and Caribbean, while West Coast ships cover the Pacific. This is a coordinated long-term effort, not a one-off deployment. Leaders argue that criminal organizations are using the ocean's vastness to their advantage. Only the Navy, they say, has the technology and persistence to counter this threat. The message: the border mission is now a core part of U.S. security strategy. The stakes have never been higher. Using guided missile destroyers for border security is a bold break from tradition. It blurs the line between military and law enforcement, raising concerns about militarization and the Posse Comitatus Act. These ships are expensive, scarce, and needed for global missions. Critics question if this is the best use of resources. In the past, military support at the border was mostly behind the scenes. Now, warships are front and center. The move sends a powerful signal, but also risks diplomatic fallout. Dedicating multiple destroyers to the immediate U.S. border is unprecedented. It's a new chapter in American military history, and a subject of fierce debate. Is this a temporary emergency, or the start of a permanent Navy role at the border? The deployments are open-ended, with no set end date, suggesting a sustained effort. If this becomes the new normal, the Navy may need to change its training, budget, and even ship design. A future administration could reverse course, but for now the destroyers keep patrolling. The debate over cost, effectiveness, and the military's role in border security is just beginning. The presence of these warships forces a national conversation about what we expect from our military. The world is watching to see what happens next.